Hello and welcome to Cover Story. Today we are going to be discussing a topic that affects almost all of us, the role of religion, and can this be used as a solution for some of our global problems? How much of a part does religion play in our global problems? Can it be used as a discourse of finding solutions? Should religious leaders be also invited when global leaders, world leaders meet and discuss solutions and problems? We of course have the G20 meeting in Bali right now, but before that there was a meeting of the R20, the religious 20, where we saw as many as 160 interfaith leaders coming together to discuss ways and means of actually including religion, of moderating religion, ending extremism and bringing everyone together on one platform for global solutions. The event was organized by Nahdlatul Ulema and the Muslim World League. The Nahdlatul Ulema is of course based in Indonesia and one of the world's largest Muslim organizations. Muslim World League based in Makkah, also a very important organization. And of course what gave it more credence was the presence of leaders from Christian faith, Jewish faith, from all over, and also the right-wing leaders. We had Indian leaders, we had also participating in it. In fact, Ram Madhav, RSS leader, was present there on the stage. He was in fact one of the brains behind founding this council. We also had Swami Govind Devgiri of the Ram Janmabhoomi Trust and other leaders on the same platform. And talking to me today is Ram Madhavji. In fact, congratulations on this venture that you'd, I think it was a very brilliant initiative, but can you tell us a bit more into the thinking behind it and what you hope to achieve with it?
See, G20 is a forum of world political leaders, government leaders. When they get together annually, they discuss about the problems that the humanity is facing.
Correct.
Now, the problems that humanity is facing today, should they be left to the governments and political leaders alone, or should we bring cultural leadership, civic leadership, religious leadership, spiritual leadership also into the orbit, and also make them a part of the solution or stakeholders in the process of finding answers to these challenges. So with that view, there was this idea that why not convene R20 on the sidelines of the G20. Initially, the idea was that let it be a non-official sort of gathering, but the government of Indonesia decided that it should become a part of their G20 initiatives. We all know that this year G20 chairmanship was with Indonesia. So Indonesia has made R20 an official part of their G20 activity. It was called as G20 Religions Forum. So the objective is that while religions discuss about inter-religious issues through interfaith dialogues and all, this forum was intended to discuss about global issues.
Okay.
In that sense, the focus of this conclave or this religions forum was and will not be religions alone. It will be not religion centric but humanity centric. So an effort to bring religions together on larger issues, not on mere religious issues and all that. Bringing larger issues into the focus, and we all know that today religions have huge influence over the mankind.
Correct.
So can they also help governments in finding solutions to some of these challenges, like for example climate change,
How?
health issues, and more importantly today these woke issues like LGBTQ issues or issues related to family, marriage, even gender. Today the discourse is whether a man should call himself a man at the time of his birth or when he becomes 15.
Correct.
So all these issues require not just governments but also social, cultural leadership to get in. So R20 is intended for that.
But also before you get everybody on the same platform, there has to be some compromise. So the extreme viewpoints of every religion, I think, has to be shared to find a moderate common platform. Isn't that part of the process?
I would like to give a lot of credit to two host organizations of the first R20, namely, in fact, you have named both of them, Nahdlatul Ulema of Indonesia, an organization with about 90 million followers. It's the largest organization in Indonesia. 9 crore followers, and again a very influential organization from Saudi Arabia by name Muslim World League, again very influential in the entire Arab world, I would like to compliment them for ensuring that the spirit of R20 remains intact. It wouldn't become a platform for, in our language, tu mai mai.
Huh.
A platform for one religion criticizing the other, or religions attacking civilizations. You criticize West, West criticizes you blame them for terrorism, they blame you for something else, and this kind of discourse.
Huh.
Of course, maybe there are issues that religions need to discuss between them, but this forum was not intended for that. So, in that sense, these two organizations have ensured that a coherent voice comes out of this R20 platform. When you have larger issues at stake and you are now seized of those larger issues, naturally you will try to understand each other better because larger concerns are staring at us. That process is very important, we also believe, and R20 has helped in setting in motion that process. I was there through the 2-day conference there. Exceptions, one or two exceptions apart, this was a very cordially organized event, very focused event. Leaders of all religions spoke in a very moderate way, in fact, accepting that, we have enormous diversity in the world, we will have to respect this diversity and work together. That spirit,
Yes.
which was the original idea, original purpose behind convening this R20, was manifest in this year's R20 deliberations.
No, yeah, even I noticed that most of the speeches were looking inwards, introspective rather than, as you said, tu me or accusation to one another. But how much of it also has to do with the leadership of, say, the Muslim world, Muhammad Alisa? He is also known to be a more moderate man. He's talking about reinterpreting the word kafir. He wants a more rahmat Islam. So, they also, and this is also with the current Saudi Arabian ruler who is talking about reforming Islam. So, is there a worldview that let's rescue Islam from the hands of ISIS and Al-Qaeda and bring it to, restore it to its moderate original form?
Ideally, this question should be put to those leaders only. But from my interactions with these leaders over the last few months in the process of organization of this R20, I would say that we must remember that Indonesia is the world's largest Muslim country with 25 crore, 250 million Muslim population. Similarly, Saudi Arabia is the world's most influential Muslim country. With it's actually the mothership of Islam, with Makkah and Medina both situated in that country.
Yeah.
Now, those two countries, those two big organizations representing the Muslim community from those countries, coming forward and taking a very moderate stand, and as you rightly pointed out, focusing more about introspection, inward-looking approach is clearly a sign of changing times. And we all know that the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Sultan has actually embarked on a new journey of changing the image, the face, and in fact the practice of people of Saudi Arabia to a very modern, forward-looking, he wants to build a modern, forward-looking country in Saudi Arabia. And Muhammad Alisa is one of his very close aides. Muhammad Alisa, who is the Secretary General of Muslim World League, was formerly the Justice Minister of Saudi Arabia. He was not an ordinary Maulvi or some religious leader. He was a very high, senior person in their political hierarchy also. So, people at that level coming forward with this kind of moderation and this kind of an effort to reach out to all other religions is definitely a good sign. Of course, these battles have to be tackled, waged within the communities also. But also then, their coming forward to bring all others together will definitely help in building definitely a more moderate world, more moderate humanity.
There have been other forums earlier, of this kind. So, why do you think what makes you think the R20 will succeed? Because there have been other forums of this kind also. Is it because others were more academic, here they were more religious leaders? That's one of the plus points that I saw.
You are right. Interfaith dialogues is not new. In fact, G20 also has, not as a part of it, but on the sidelines, certain groups come together to organize interfaith congregations on the sidelines of G20, not again as a part of R20, G20. But those interfaith dialogues are largely limited to discussing about aspects related to religions. Each religion understanding the other religion. That generally used to be the focus.
Okay.
But R20 is slightly different in the sense that here it's not, as I said, religion which is at the center of our discourse or discussion here. It is the humanity. It is the challenges that the world is facing. If climate change is a challenge for President Biden and Prime Minister Modi, it must be a challenge for the Pope, the Hindu Guru, the Muslim Maulvis, Muslim religious leadership. For them also it should be a question of, it should be a concern. So we all have to together.
So how will you use religion to solve an issue like climate change?
As I said, you see, what is the biggest challenge in climate change? It is population.
Yeah.
Carbon emission happens with every additional human being. You are adding carbon emission levels to the nature. So humanity needs to be trained to behave in an environment friendly way. That is the biggest challenge today. Today governments want people to give up on usage of plastics, lead a sustainable lifestyle. Now this governments will tell.
Yeah.
But if the religions, cultural leaders, spiritual leaders also take up this responsibility, for example, saving water bodies, governments are doing it. But you know, if a Jaggi Vasudev or a Shri Shri Ravi Shankar undertakes a campaign to revive a river, people would be more enthusiastic to take part in it. So religious, spiritual, cultural leaders with their great sway over large populations can really become important stakeholders in tackling of these new challenges. Similarly, I mentioned to you about the new issues, social issues that are cropping up. How do you find answers to those issues? The so-called woke discourse. Can governments handle it? Every day there is pressure on, even in India, what are the kind of issues that Supreme Court is faced with? Whether sex before marriage is right or wrong is a question that judiciary is supposed to debate today. Whether live-in relationship is valid or not valid is being debated in the parliament and in the judiciary. But in all these issues, don't we see a role for social, cultural, spiritual, religious leaders also? Their views also should be elicited. They also should be asked to play a role. R20 should play that role. That's my opinion.
And the presence of yourself in such a platform, you were there with the Muslim leadership, Christian leadership. How does that work, fit in with the politics of the BJP and the RSS back home?
Okay, this is not necessarily about any politics. As I said,
it always comes to politics.
See, this is largely about certain human welfare related issues. Now, G20, what politics does it have?
The G20 is global politics.
It's a global forum where countries which control 80% of the world's economy come together.
Right.
That's the importance of G20. So, similarly, R20 is a forum where religions that have their sway over maybe 50%, 60% of the population. Why I am saying 50-60% is, in the world there is a massive population which claims they don't have any religion. That population is very huge. I mean, something like 300 million or 350 million today and growing. So, but otherwise people have allegiance, adherence to certain religions. So, these leaders, when they come together, it's not necessarily about politics. Our politics could be different. Our issues could be different. That's why this whole initiative should not be linked to any domestic politics, nor even to any inter-religion conflicts. We all want inter-religion conflicts to end. But that process is a different process. That dialogue is a different dialogue. That platform will be different. Here, we all have to come together for the good of the larger issue of human good.
But in your speech, you said that that you also want to correct the impression, or that India is not tolerant, that we are not a diverse country. I don't have the exact quote, but you mentioned the fact that you had the first, you appointed Muslims as presidents, vice presidents, chief justices. Most of these have been done by non-BJP governments, except the president of India was done by a Vajpayee government. This government today has not a single Muslim minister.
India is going to be the country where G20 will take place next year. Naturally, it is expected that R20 also should be held here next year, whether as an official part of the G20 celebrations, although it's right now not an official part, it's still
but
outside.
But there the Indonesian government was supporting you.
Because it was the chair, it used its authority as the chair of G20 to make it official.
Okay.
Here, Government of India will take an appropriate decision. Irrespective of whatever decision government takes, I think R20 as an initiative should go forward. But the issue that I tried to highlight there was when it is coming to India, because it's a very interesting sequence that is going to happen. It started with a Muslim majority country like Indonesia. It next should come logically to India, because G20 is here. India is a Hindu majority country. From here, the next G20 is in Brazil, which is a Catholic majority country.
Oh, so you see that.
Then from there, South Africa is hosting G20 in 2025. So it is also a country with lots of tribal faiths and Christianity and all other religions. So it's going to different countries. So there, the wisdom of those major religions also should come to the forefront. They should be able to add their wisdom to the cumulative sum total of the world's wisdom. So in that sense, I said, look, when you look at India, the next host, is one country where you find almost all the religions on the world at one place. India is probably the only country in the world, other than maybe United States of America, where people go for jobs and all, where you find all religions, not only all religions, all denominations of all religions. All Muslim sects you will find in India. All Christian different congregations you will find in India. That way, India has been a microcosm of global diversity, and it is the mothership of spiritualism. We treated all religions with respect. We accorded great place to all religions. They have become important leaders in the country. So that is the kind of spirit that India always resonates. That's why I said it's the right place. Sometimes people get a wrong feeling that there is some discrimination going on and all that. No, it is not. I mean, the word I used was, it's not persecution. It's actually persecuted who come to India. India has always been a land which gives solace to those who are persecuted. In fact, now we are saying persecuted minorities from our neighborhood are welcome to India. They can come and claim citizenship here. To that extent, we are offering. So India is a land where everybody will get justice.
You answered my next question, where I was going to say, how does this fit in with the CAA? You very neatly given me a very legal logic answer, which I don't know emotionally how that works out, but logically, yes. We are today talking to him about the Religious 20 forum that took place in Bali right on the eve of the G20 forum, and the role that religion can play as a unifier and not as a divisive element. In fact, at the conference, there was Professor Ahmed Kuru. I think he's from San Diego. Yeah, Professor Ahmed Kuru, who actually made a very important point. He says that, whenever minorities are being persecuted, and he mentioned Muslims in China, he's saying it is not a Muslim majority states that came out and stood up for the Muslims being persecuted. It was actually the secular, the liberals who stood up and spoke. So he's saying, watch out for the backlash of the seculars. What do you understand from that comment?
No, see, important point to be understood is, persecution, wherever it happens, it must be opposed. It must be, it must stop. Towards that, efforts from all sides should happen. But more importantly, within the government, efforts should happen. So, but how do you call a particular thing as persecution? That is where the whole problem comes. Every small issue between religions is not persecution. If that is the case, no country can escape the blame from charge of persecution. Countries have histories. where certain historical reasons lead to some kind of tensions between communities, but that doesn't mean there is persecution. For example, take the case of India.
Let us take
Now, a country with 200 million so-called minority population, which constitutes close to 20% of the population, can a 20% population be persecuted? We don't ask that important question, because when you are 20% in this country, at national level you may be a minority, but in state level you can be a majority, then you will be persecuting somebody else there. If persecution is the order of the day for majority against minority, at the national level you are majority, but at the state level you are minority, and vice versa. So this whole persecution argument needs to be presented carefully.
Which is why your CA is based on this argument. I do, it is a very neat argument which says everybody but Muslims are allowed in. It's
see, first thing we must remember is CAA,
Rohingya Muslims, no.
CAA, this misunderstanding about
Bangladeshi
CAA.
Hindus, yes.
No, point is CAA does not apply to any Indian citizen. Why are we forgetting that very fundamental point? CAA is about those who come from outside seeking citizenship in India. It's only about them. Why are we applying it to India and saying that Indian citizens are discriminated on the grounds of CAA? It doesn't apply to any Indian citizen. You are a Muslim, Christian, Jew, Parsi. If you are an Indian citizen, CAA does not apply to you. It's only for those who are coming from our neighborhood. Any neighboring country person, or for that matter, any person from anywhere in the world can come to India seeking citizenship. He has to wait for 12 years and present reasons for seeking citizenship here. What CAA does is, if you are a persecuted minority in our neighborhood, because in our neighborhood we have had the history of persecution happening. So if you are a persecuted minority, you have an evidence of your persecution there, your citizenship claim can be fast-tracked, not free. You don't have to wait for 12 years. After 6 years, you can get citizenship. But then it's only for those who are persecuted minorities in our neighborhood. Now,
So
in our neighborhood is who is persecuted minority in Pakistan? It is Christians, it is Hindus, it is other sects there. And same is the case in Afghanistan. So there Sikhs are persecuted there, Hindus are persecuted there, not Muslims. So it's not about, if a Muslim wants to come to India and seek citizenship, he can come, wait for 12 years and take it. Many take it.
We have Rohingya Muslims waiting.
No, Rohingya Muslims case is not about people persecuted people coming and seeking refuge in India. Rohingya case is mainly between Bangladesh and Myanmar. It is main issue is between them. Remaining is about illegal entry. Illegal migrants will be treated separately as illegal migrants in every case.
Okay.
Those who come as persecuted minorities seeking citizenship, they have to wait for 6 years and seek citizenship. That is what this CAA stipulates.
Okay.
No, if there is any demand for any other community to be included, they can go and ask the government of India. Government of India has included 6 communities in that list who are deemed persecuted in erstwhile India. Before partition, what was generally considered India, those 3 countries were taken: Bangladesh, Pakistan and Afghanistan. Now Myanmar doesn't come under that. Nepal is not there, Bhutan is not there. These countries don't come under that law. CAA doesn't cover them. Now, the point is, why you only cover 3 countries? But that is the prerogative of the government, because we face a daily situation where on persecution grounds, people sneak into India. We need to tackle that inflow. So that's why that law was promulgated. It's not discriminatory at all. It's a total misrepresentation about CAA.
Well, the way it was interpreted was to, cover the areas where they are, where the focus is, rather than have a universal law. But to get back to the R20 and what you're hoping to achieve, do you think that, as you said, the baton will be passed on to India? Over here, will there be more discourse on Hinduism? There, because the Muslim League was sponsoring it, there was more on the Muslim religion, need for a moderate Islam. Do you see the discourse shifting to the Hindu religion also?
As I said, R20 per se is not necessarily about religion. It's about humanity, as I said. But yes, when it happens in India, obviously, India gets an opportunity to present the innate virtues of Hindu view of life, Hindu school of thought, Hindu wisdom in all its different forms. There are misconceptions today. Those misconceptions also can be addressed. And what we think about human welfare, humanity as a whole, that can be effectively presented to them. R20 will provide us an opportunity to do that, definitely, when it is held in India. But then again, I am saying it's not about any domestic issues or any religion based issue. This forum is not about that. But yes, we will definitely next year use R20 to present the wisdom of India before the entire world. For example, Indian delegation this time at Indonesian R20 included, of course, 3 Hindu Swamis, but also one Christian Archbishop, one very senior Muslim scholar, and one Hindu scholar, Dr. Swapan Das Gupta. So it was a delegation representing the Indian diversity also. That is the beauty of the Indian thought, even the Hindu thought, non-discrimination, treating everyone with respect. So that can be more effectively presented when R20 is held here in India next year.
Well, on that note, I think you made a very good case for that. A platform for actually unity and diversity and not divisiveness is something I think one should encourage, and we wish you all the best with that endeavor. But that's it for now. Thank you so much.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.